Good morning, ladies of Teshuvah. I am excited to be here today because Isaac is with me. Yay! I have been actually under the weather. I didn't know if I was actually going to be able to get here today, and Isaac helped me today get here, and he's going to join me on the show to help it go along quickly today, and it'll be a good thing. And the reason why I just feel it was so important for me to come today, because I think most people would have called it a sick day, but I think it's so important. This subject matter that I prepared this week for this show, I think is crucial. So this is why I kind of pushed through today to get here. So we are on the eve of Pesach. How incredible! I love the spring feast, as you know. But today I'm going to kind of whip through the show kind of quickly, just because I am not 100%. I'm working on about probably 80%, I'd say. But this is super. But yeah, Isaac just said I'm better. Isaac is sitting on the green chair right now, and he will be in just a few minutes. I'm going to go through a few things first. While he waits over there, and then he's going to join me for the topic today. And the topic today is super important. Isaac bought me flowers yesterday. So, all right, ladies. The climax of this show today, which is the big, the most important question that you're ever going to ask yourself, or ask. All right, so today is show 17. It is March 31st. It is the 13th day of the first month in the year 6018 from creation. And Pesach countdown, we have one day. Yay, one day. Let us go forward. Just so you know, just for those that are just joining me, I am under the weather a bit. So coming out of it, absolutely. But had a somewhat of a little rough week. Wasn't sure if I was going to get here. But I feel like the subject is super important, and as you go into the Feast of Unleavened Bread, I felt like we really needed to address this issue, this very important topic. So I am here for a short show today. So Shabbat Shalom, ladies of Teshuvah, and your families. Today's show, these are my announcements are very small today, but today's show, Isaac is going to co-host the topic with me, the main topic today. And we're going to talk about the most important question you will ever ask. And I'm going to talk about also, along with that, how we actually help to fulfill the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Yeah, it's pretty wild. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So I am your host today, Rebekah Bat Jehovah, and I have with me Isaac Benah, Bar Yehovah. What does Benah mean, Isaac?
Builder.
Means builder. So Rebekah Kacha is the Hebrew word for invite. So Rebekah means captivating. So Isaac basically, Isaac gave me my middle name basically, and I want to be identified with Yehovah. So it's a captivating invitation, daughter of Yehovah, and then Isaac the builder. He's a builder, so Isaac means laughter, the laughing builder. He thinks that's funny. The laughing builder, son of Yahweh. And this is Isaac and I actually at figure skating championships in Spokane. Just one little fact about me is I used to be a figure skater. I used to be. There's two tracks, one for kids to go to the Olympics and one for adults to go to more like a national sort of thing, and I was on the adult track. So this is Isaac and I during that time going to a national championships, or a regional championships in Spokane, Washington, a long time ago. So there you go. It's a little fun fact about me. I'm going to do just a little, a short war prayer. I'm going to read it actually this time. So we were hit pretty hard this week, right before feast time, which obviously is kind of just comes with the territory. We got hit pretty hard this week. And I bet several of you, or many of you have. It's kind of the way that feast season goes. So we're going to go ahead and pray a war prayer. I'm going to go ahead and read it. Yeah, you can't see it at all, can you? Oh well, I will just pray. So, but I'm going to read my prayer. It's out of my book, The Princess Warrior Prayer. I surrender my heart, my body, my mind, and my spirit to you, Yahuwah Elohim. I give you my past, my present, my future, and my everything. All that I own, I bring with me and give to you right now. I claim your kingdom rule over me and my domain. I place the blood of Yahshua between me and evil, and I renounce any claim that Hasatan has made on me, for you have chosen me, and I have chosen you, Yehovah. I want to be one with you in all matters, Yehovah. I want to eat of you, Yeshua. I must eat of you, Yeshua. I need you in me as you are in Yehovah. Teach me how to eat and drink of you, Yeshua. I receive all the work of your death, resurrection, and ascension. Apply your full work to me now. I acknowledge that I live in the middle of a great war, the great war, and I accept that as my reality for now. The war will be over when all things Yehovah said must happen. Thank you for the clarity that this knowledge brings to my understanding of what you have done, what you are doing, and what is required of me, and what you will do. I recognize that what I can see around me is not as much my reality as what I can't see. I recognize that the two kingdoms are clashing in the heavens and on earth over who will get my heart. But I know that you have not left me to survive alone. You have given me your son, who can see both kingdoms very clearly, and I claim Yeshua's eyes and your Ruah to help me see so that I can fight well. I don't want to plug into Hasatan's perspective, Papa, so I claim your perspective, Yeshua. I claim your eyes as my own. Because of your work, Yeshua, Hasatan has been judged and cast down. All authority has been given to you, Yeshua, and I receive you as my authority. I accept all the work of your death, your resurrection, and ascension, and I apply its power to my life right now. I also apply your work to my little domain and my family. I am so glad that death has no power over you, and that you make your power available to me. I claim it now. Thank you for restoring me to the Father, Yeshua. And Papa, I request that you send powerful angels from your throne to cover me with kingdom-sized protection. I ask that you release them to go to war for me right now and to also guard those that I love. Thank you for their unseen company. I also release the Ruach HaKodesh to go ahead of me to make the work of my hands effective. I mobilize angels from Yahovah's throne room to go out to get me what I need to do the assignments that you have given me. All this so that I can have abundant life, so that I can walk in my calling, so I can hear Papa, and so I can have shalom to sleep at night. Again, all bonds Hasatan has claimed he has on me are broken, have been cast down through the work of Yeshua and the circumcision of the heart. I have enacted Yeshua's work upon my life through my belief in him and through the indwelling of the Ruach HaKodesh who helps me obey Yehovah's royal law. I bring the authority of Yeshua over me and over my kingdom right now. Thank you for bringing yourself between me and the evil kingdom today. Yehovah, I give you all my loyalty. I give you all my obedience. Yeshua said I could ask for anything in his name and he would do it. You said that you love to give good gifts to your children. So you said that you would give me all the things that I need if I would just seek first your kingdom. And you told me not to focus on the things I need, but that you would provide. I do need things to live, Papa, and I ask that you meet those needs. Please grant me all the blessings that you have promised and apply them to me today. I bring Yeshua's authority over my request, and I release the angels of heaven to go get me your blessings and bring them to me today. Thank you for them in advance, Papa Yahuwah. And in closing, I have been raised with Yeshua to sit at the right hand of Yehovah and am thus established in his authority. I place the blood of Yeshua between me and all evil, and I bring the authority of Yeshua over every evil power coming against me. I command all demons that are set against me today to be bound and banished from me and my domain. I send them to Yehovah Elohim for judgment. I also then bind myself to the blessings that Yahovah has promised to those who keep his royal law through the power of the new covenant. I invite the Ruach HaKodesh to live in me and in my kingdom. Amen. So let it be written. So let it be done. Learn how to war prayer sometimes, right? One thing would you be willing, Isaac, something I did want to do, would you be willing to come and just take 5 minutes, and I wanted to sanctify the name, okay. And I wanted to tell the ladies the story, a short quick story about how your training and what happened with the feast this next week. Can you join us for that? Yay, everybody, say welcome, Isaac. Yay. You can leave after the story. We're going to praise the name of Yahovah here in our own family and in your life, because, I mean, it's super awesome what he did for you, because you had okay, Isaac is starting to be a trucker, school, and that's a huge, beautiful Yahovah story right there, how he got there. But then he started training, and the training kept getting bumped.
Yeah, so we have 4 to 5 weeks of on-the-road training, with a trainer in the truck. And I thought originally that the training period would be all done before we got to spring feast time, but there were some delays in the CDL program, and then some delays getting into orientation with the company, the motor carrier, and we ended up being like right there. I just finished orientation Thursday, and supposed to be out in a truck on Monday,
which is the first high Shabbat of unleavened bread. And this whole time he's been like, man, I don't know what's going to happen with the feast.
I was really nervous. I was like, knew Papa was in it, and I know he likes to come through, but at the same time, I'm just like trying to like not freak out, because I know that's coming, and this, and I know the day, and it's a Shabbat.
You also know how he's provided.
Yeah.
He works this stuff out.
Yeah.
Because it's his feast days, and
right.
If he wants us to celebrate his feast days and we're willing, then it's his problem. We just have to, on how that's going to work out.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway. But there's a provision in Numbers for celebrating Pesach in the second month, right, if you are traveling in the first month, right, and are unable to. And I thought, well, maybe I'm going to have to enact that provision or whatever. I was like prepared to. We were all. Yeah. They were prepared to go ahead without me, and then do with unleavened bread, and then do Pesach in the second month. And
right.
So you want me to?
No, it's really awesome, because he gets to. Yeah, I do. I want you to tell us. So Pesach is Monday, or Pesach is Sunday. Feast of unleavened bread, the first high Shabbat, is Monday, and then you have the whole week of unleavened bread. And then, you have your last high Shabbat on Sunday, which is also first fruits. So this whole time we're looking at possibly having to celebrate separately for the first time in the whole our 10, 11 years or whatnot. So, no, go ahead. Take him quickly.
So the best I was hoping for was that they could tweak the schedule to start me Tuesday so that I could be home on Monday for the first high Shabbat. And the second one falling on the weekend, and then I'd be gone during the week.
This is a huge company. They don't really...
Yeah, 1,000... Yeah. They have 1,000 trucks. This is what I'm hoping for. The best, I could imagine.
Right.
Well, so I go to the training coordinator, and, as soon as we get hooked up, and I, tell him what the situation is, and I tell him about the provision for the second month, and I could, that, 30 days out, we have this option, and that's probably still going to be during training, though. Okay. And so he immediately says, well, I can see some problems with the 30-day out option. He's like, let's take care of it right now. Let's get you home for Monday with your family.
Yay. So not only does he get the first high Shabbat off, so he can spend that day with us, which we're like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Then what?
Yeah, well, the trucks are out for a whole week, and so the trainer that I would have been with,
as in go be with that truck and that trainer all week long, gone from home, like,
and the truck
across
leaves
the country
on Monday.
Somewhere.
So now to have me home Monday, they can't send me out with that truck, and so what he does is he finds me another truck to ride with in the first week to train with. And the one he finds just happens to be a local who goes home every night.
So what that means is Isaac will be able to be home every single night of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And we get to have our meal.
Matzah with the family.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It's just the way Papa worked that all out is just...
I know.
Not only does it confirm again, that Papa sees that he cares very deeply about, you showing up for his times, but it also confirms for us that we're on the right calendar. I mean, this is honestly, this is how it's been over the course of the years, is he makes things happen. Right. For this Vive Barley Sighted Moon calendar, it's like, wow, that, Right. I wanted to share that with you because I wanted to sanctify the name, so the ideas of blessing Yehovah.
Yep.
For doing this for us.
That's cool.
Thank you. Oh no, did I spell it wrong?
No.
I probably did.
We got it.
He's my editor. Okay.
You did the...
All right, you go. You can come back in a minute.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yay, thank you. And also, if you want to give an offering, then this is how I prefer you doing it, is become my patron. So there's links there in the feed all over the place. You should be able to find those things. I think that was it. So why don't you come back, Isaac, and we are going to talk about the topic. Now we're actually going to hit into the subject of today's show. I found this thing is really cool. It's essential oils, and you just breathe it and it like clears you up. It's pretty cool. But I know you could do that with just a mixture of essential oils that you all probably have. All right. The most important question you will ever ask is, how do I eat of Yahshua? Do you ask that question?
You ask me that question.
I ask you that question all the time. All right. So, here's the deal. Without bread, which is actually one of the most ancient forms of food out there, if you do your study, you will find that's like one of the first things we ever ate. Anyway, that and yogurt, I think. But anyway, without bread, as in eating, as in sustenance, we will die, right? So we are coming up. So Passover is Pesach is tomorrow, and then this week starts the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And then on Shabbat, you have the resurrection at the end of Shabbat. And then on Sunday, you have first fruits, which is actually also the last high Shabbat of Unleavened Bread. So Pesach, there's so much to that. I'm not going to cover that before tomorrow. I decided to, y'all have done your research. Y'all you're good. You got that.
Mm-hmm.
The Seder, talking about how Yahshua, fulfilled Pesach. You've got that, okay? I'm coming out with a big old book. If you don't know about it, I got a big book coming out and everything about that'll be that you can study later if you want. But unleavened bread is something that I think kind of gets the shaft sometimes. I think we focus so much on that Seder meal that we truly forget this 7-day feast that He's commanded us to eat unleavened bread during. So that's what I'm going to focus on today for just a little bit.
Okay.
Probably about 20, 30 minutes. We're going to talk about the Feast of Unleavened Bread and the importance of it. So Yahshua is the bread of life, right? So here we have Yahweh sending the bread of life to Bethlehem. What does Bethlehem mean?
House of bread.
House of bread. What was he laid in?
Bread trough,
or
kneading trough.
Yeah, or a bread bowl or something. So here's this bread of heaven coming down into the house of bread, being laid in a bread trough. I mean, hello, duh. There's here's the bread of life, right? Okay. So Isaac, I'm going to have you save my voice. I'm going to have you read.
From John 6:27.
Yep.
Labor not for the food which perishes, but for that food which endures to everlasting life, which the Son of Man shall give to you. For the Son of Man is the one whom Yahweh the Father has authenticated.
Yes. So food which endures. Okay. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Okay, John 6:28-34. What shall we do that we might work the works of Yahweh? Yahshua answered and said to them, This is the work of Yahweh, that you believe in him who he has sent. Do what the prophet says, eat of him. Our fathers did eat manna in the desert. Yahshua said, Truth I say to you, Moses did not give you the bread from heaven, but my Father, and he now gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of Yahweh is he who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world.
Okay, so obviously it's very clear that the bread from heaven is Yahshua, who is sent from Yahweh. So so what shall we do? Okay, so what shall we do that we may have do the works of Yahweh? And we're supposed to see and believe that Yahshua is the prophet that was spoken of by Moses, that we must Shema and obey. So we need to listen to what Yahshua is saying about this idea of him being bread, and what he wants us to do with him.
And Shema, so
Yeah.
believe, but also to do
Right.
what that prophet says.
Yeah. Believe and do what Yahshua says. Okay, another one.
Okay. John 6:35-40 also says, Yahshua said, I am the bread of life. He that comes to me shall never hunger, and he that believes in me shall never thirst. This is the will of Yahweh who sent me, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day.
John 6 is full of this. The whole entire chapter is, and this goes again with the see and the believe thing.
Right.
You did
we did a study, a mind map study on this, especially focusing on where it says everyone who sees and believes.
Yeah.
So it's not just enough to see, and it's not just about seeing and acknowledging that this person exists.
Right.
It's belief.
Which is what what Christianity kind of teaches is, just believe in Jesus Christ and you will be saved. Believe that he is the Son of God and you shall be. No, it's like you see, as in yes, believe that he is who he said he is, but then but believe that he's the prophet spoken of by Moses, that you must Shema and obey and do what he says.
Yeah, and on this verse, the bread of life, and the previous one where it said, eat of him that you may have life.
Right.
How do we get life? And just, this goes goes deeper than just eternal life, like not going to hell. This is about life, like
abundant life.
To the full.
Yeah, abundant life
as well.
Right. Okay, I think I have one or two more because he talks so much about.
Okay.
So you're just
Yeah,
keep
still
reading.
in John 6. Yeah, there's a lot there.
I know.
Truth I say to you, he who believes in me has everlasting life. I am that bread of life. Your fathers ate manna in the wilderness and are dead. But this is the bread which comes down from heaven, that a man may eat and not die. I am the living bread which came down from heaven. If any man eat of this bread, he shall live forever. The bread that I will give is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world.
Okay, so this is so Yahshua is saying, I am the bread of life. And I come down from heaven that you may eat and not die. So the idea is, if you don't eat of him, then you die, right? You have to eat of him to live. I mean, he's pretty clear right here. So wouldn't that be the most important thing that anybody could ever talk about?
Right.
Gosh.
So yeah. So usually it's unleavened bread. We usually focus on the or the unleavened part, and so definitely, leaven does represent sin, and we are to be, holy as he is holy. And it does command to get the yeast out of the house and to not eat leavened bread. But the feast is called unleavened bread. And we are talking about the unleavened one. And
I'm going to show
the
you,
bread.
and I am going to show you where in it. It's a slide later. I will show you in a second. But there are more commands in the Torah regarding unleavened bread that say you must eat unleavened bread, versus commands that say don't eat leaven. Did you notice this? I mean, I think most people could, like you're saying, most people focus on I got to get the leaven out of the house. Well, yes, but he's saying almost, I can't remember, but I think it's almost twice as many times. I can't remember. I have to go, but I'm not computing completely fully today, but I think
Right.
it's,
Right, so did you follow that? There's the negative commands where he says, don't eat
Right.
leaven.
Right.
But then there's many more positive commands that say, do
Yeah,
eat
like,
matzah.
you have to eat unleavened bread during the feast. And so what we got to do is unpack that and figure out what does he really mean about that. But so we first start with looking at who the bread of life is and who the unleavened one is. And obviously we're finding out again that it is Yahshua. So we'll talk about the flesh here in a minute, but go ahead and I think there's one or two more.
Okay. Truth I say to you, except you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. For my flesh is truly food, and my blood is truly drink. He that eats my flesh and drinks my blood dwells in me, and I in him. As the living Father has sent me, and as I live by the Father, so he that eats me, even he shall live by me. This is the bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers ate manna and are dead. He who eats this bread shall live forever.
I mean, like,
There's a lot there.
There's
you have to go
so
back
much
and
there.
really just sit with each phrase in that one.
I know, like the whole John 6, you have to kind of just sit with, and I mean, look at that. I mean, you have to eat his flesh and drink his blood, or you have no life. You know how there's life in the blood, and this whole idea of flesh. I think there's something to be. I think there's a connection between Shaul talking about the flesh and Yahshua saying you got to eat my flesh, and the idea that, we're flesh and blood, we're spirit, flesh, and blood kind of thing. But I think there's something very cool there, because Yahshua never sinned in the flesh, he never sinned in the spirit, and if we're to be like him, then we want to be empowered to not sin in the flesh and not sin in the spirit. And Shaul was talking about sinning in the flesh and all that. So I really think there's something there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you were talking about that last night.
Yeah.
How he's, talking about how miserable it is when his flesh won't do what he wants to do.
Right. And I
But
really.
Yeshua's flesh did.
Right.
And
the hope and the goal is for us to eat of him, to have him in us, so that we do what Yeshua did. Yeah, so our flesh is.
Right.
I love that. There's so much there to unpack. But basically, we're looking and we're saying we have to eat of him. This is the command. We must eat of him. All right. That must be the last.
Yeah. No, we know everybody's got it down how to go through the house and figure out what's leavened, what's not,
right.
and what to do with it, and we've all figured that out.
Yeah.
So, but we're here to talk about.
Yeah. We're here to talk about
eating the matzah.
Exactly. So Yeshua taught that we must eat of him the day before the day before the Feast of Trumpets in the chronological Gospels. It lays out what his timeline was, and in here he taught about eating of him the day before trumpets, 2 days after he fed the 5,000 fishes and loaves, when he broke those. And I just find that stunning, because I really think that the reason that he did that the day before trumpets is because he really said, if you don't eat of me, I can't take you, basically. So you got to eat of me in order for me to be able to take you on trumpets, to come get you. If you don't eat of me and you don't have me in you, you can't have life. I can't take you to heaven for that fall feast. You can't reign with me. You can't be my bride. I'm not going to be able to catch you or get you the next day on Feast of Trumpets, because that's why I'm seeing. You can't take us unless we eat of him, and I think he's pretty clear of that. Okay.
He said, "You must eat of me,
right,
to have life."
Why aren't we talking about that more?
Because it's a hard teaching.
Right. Because, like this says, go ahead and read it.
Well, Yeshua lost most of his followers when he said this.
Yeah.
Still in John 6, many of his disciples, when they heard this, said, "This is a hard saying. Who can hear it?" And from that time, Many of his disciples went away and walked with him no more.
Notice, I found it kind of stunning that this was John 6:66.
I know.
I don't really.
The number. John wasn't putting the numbers in there, but
I
hey,
know.
but still.
I know John
Pop was in the numbers, and then it ended up there.
I know, and I'm like, okay, so the mark, possibly. I don't know. I'm not big into mysticism and that sort of thing and numerology and whatnot. But the idea that 666, I was like, okay, the mark being possibly those who do not have him in them.
That works.
I think so. I think it makes, along with everything else we know about the mark, and the beast, and 666 or whatnot. But if you don't have Yahshua in you, I think this is telling. This John 6. It struck me like it really hit me hard yesterday when I was typing this out.
Well, if nothing else, it's an exclamation point.
Yeah, just
on this verse. It's like.
Yeah. Like wow.
Yep.
So, the idea of eating his flesh and drinking his blood, he said you have to do it to have life. You have to do it in order for him to take you at the Feast of Trumpets when he comes back. So, we look at, this is another thing that struck me. Okay, so in the scriptures it talks about how Papa prepared the bread for us. So he prepares Yahshua for us. Will you read that for me? That Ephesians 2.
From Ephesians, for we are Elohim's workmanship, created in Yahshua the Messiah to do good works, which you have prepared in advance as our way of life.
Yeah, and I think there's other scriptures that talk about him preparing, but he's prepared Yahshua for us to eat of, so that we can have Yahshua. So look at this. So you see this? There's a baker putting the now check this out, Isaac. You got to see this too. Okay, watch. Okay, so here's an ancient. I went and looked at ancient Arabic ovens, and look at this. There's several. There's many different kinds, but here's one. It's an ancient oven for baking bread. Okay, check this out. There's the garden too. Oven, unleavened bread. I'm sorry, but I just love that. I love the imagery there, because Yehovah is baking bread for us. This is his bread. Okay, we eat this bread all the time.
Yeah.
But he's trying to make a point, and the point he's trying to say is, I want you to eat this bread that I have made for you, and it's Yahshua. You have to eat of Yahshua. I just love it. It looks like, and it's during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Hello, he was in the tomb. He was in the tomb during unleavened bread being baked. I don't know.
I don't know. What?
Just the idea that
So the unleavened bread is good. It's good food, but it doesn't rise when it's in the oven.
The unleavened bread.
Yeah, but Yahshua rose.
Well, okay. The unleavened bread. I think the unleavened bread, it's all about saying he's the unleavened one, so he has no sin in him, right?
Right, because he didn't corrupt.
He did, right, right.
In the grave.
Right, he didn't corrupt in the grave. But the idea of, sometimes leaven in the scriptures is used for good things, too. It's not always used for that. Yeah. So, and he, at his Last Supper, actually used leavened bread. He split a loaf at the Last Supper. So that's one reason we know that Last Supper was not Pesach, is because there was a loaf. So he's breaking. So, it's not just about matzah, it's about the bread of life, right? What were you looking at?
I just found that the phrasing on that Ephesians verse so interesting. I was just going to look it up in mine.
That's cool.
Then I forgot what verse it was.
Oh, sorry. I can't go back now.
That's okay.
Check this out. Isaac's Bible. Check this out. This is his grandpa's Bible. Tell him about it. What's inside? It's 4 or 5.
It's kind of falling apart. This is that was my grandpa.
But anyway,
it's an old parallel study Bible. Got four translations in it. But
yeah, so he basically just, it's like here it has the King James right here and the modern language right here and the Living Bible and the Revised, so he can look across from. So it's kind of cool.
It's a cool Bible, and it has some cool notes in it. That I find that my grandpa left.
Yeah.
Find out what he underlined. And
Israelite didn't know he was. Eh?
I know. I think so.
All right. Okay, so what is the most important thing that you will ever do? What's the most important thing you will ever do? Isaac, love your wife.
That's one of them.
Okay, so what is the most important thing you'll ever do?
Eat of Yahshua.
Eat of Yahshua. Absolutely. Eat the bread of life.
Yep.
Eat the bread of life. Okay. So the Feast of Unleavened Bread is all about practicing this crucial thing, eating of Yahshua. So this next week when you when you come, you're going to go through the Pesach, you're going to go through the Seder, you're going to remember the great, wonderful things that Yahweh did for the ancient Israelites in the past. You're going to see you're going to remember what Yahshua did and what Yahshua accomplished, and all that stuff. But when you hit the Feast of Unleavened Bread, this is the time set apart by Yahweh to practice eating of Yahshua. All right? Okay. I want to show you something here. Okay, we're Melchizedek priests. We're not Messianic. We're not Hebrew roots. We're not Christian. We're not Jewish. We're Melchizedek, which is actually what the early the disciples were, because they believed in the change in priesthood. So here we go. But check this out, Isaac. Look at this. Exodus 23:14. This is in the covenant. Look at this. Read it, Isaac.
Okay.
This right here.
Yep. You shall observe the Feast of Unleavened Bread. For 7 days you are to eat unleavened bread, as I commanded you, at the appointed time in the month of Eve, for in it you came out of Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty-handed.
Check that out. Okay, in the covenant, in the royal covenant, in the Melchizedek covenant, do you see anything that says don't eat leaven? Where's the focus?
No, I see it.
The focus in the Melchizedek covenant is eating unleavened bread. It is not, the focus is not in not eating leaven, okay? So yes, we're not going to eat leaven this week, and definitely it's a wonderful practice to get the leaven out of the house, but you remember too, Shaul talks about getting the leaven out of your fellowships. This is not just we're not just talking about the little speck of leaven in the corner of your house, people. This is like micro. This is way too micro. This is not what he's talking about. He's talking way more broad. You know, what does Shaul say? So he talks about getting. You know, Yahshua got the leaven out of his house. How did he get the who? He got Judas out.
Right.
He didn't go scraping up leaven in the corners. He got Judas out before the feast. Right, and then Shaul talks about getting the leaven out, as in leaven out of your fellowships. So you're going to look at yeasty people, yeasty things, the yeasty practices. You're not just going to look, but this is so interesting to me because the focus here is eating of unleavened bread. You have to eat of the unleavened one. All right. So a Melchizedek priest will be eating unleavened bread during the feast. They will be eating of the unleavened one. Okay, so if you are gluten intolerant, just one more, a quick reminder, is that you're not exempt from eating unleavened bread if you're gluten intolerant. So I have created a beautiful unleavened or gluten-free matzah for you, because you have to be eating unleavened bread during this time. I've had ladies before say, "Oh, I'm just going to fast from bread during the feast." That's not if he's saying you must eat, right? So we got to figure this out. And this is what I think. I think that Hasatan has poisoned our grain supply, so that we would not be able to eat bread. You know, this whole anti-bread movement. Oh my gosh! You know, if you just get non-GMO organic wheat, be real careful about the wheat you get. You know, the problem with the gluten intolerance is because of the chemicals used. Don't get me started. Anyway.
Yep, don't.
Okay, well, we're getting down to where I really wanted to get to today.
Yep.
This is the other thing about unleavened bread, is you actually help to fulfill this feast. It's pretty interesting that you actually...
That's right.
Right. So page 31. Where is it? We find
Isn't it the only...
It's the only one.
Like one of the only ones?
Yes. Yes. It's the only feast that we actually participate in to actually help fulfill. If you notice, no other one is dependent on us. So look at this. So we're
Okay, I'm just going to read this whole paragraph.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. It's interesting to consider that outside of unleavened bread, all of the spring feasts would have been fulfilled, and all of the fall feasts will be fulfilled, whether we engage with them or not.
Right.
But the significance of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is that this feast can't be fully fulfilled without us. It represents our part. The feast is all about eating unleavened bread. Of course, it is Yahshua's work that transforms us, but we can't have that transformation unless we actually help to fulfill this feast.
Right.
Kind of like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink things.
Right. Yeah.
Can lead an Israelite to the bread.
But you can't make him eat.
We are required to perform an action, and that action is eating. Eating of the Unleavened One. The feast wouldn't be fulfilled in us if we didn't eat.
Right.
Yahshua, I'm going to keep going. Yahshua is food that has been prepared for us. We just have to eat. Right.
Exactly. So you can lead a horse to water, you can lead an Israelite to the bread, but you can't force him to eat. But how you help to fulfill this Feast of Unleavened Bread is to eat, because the command is to eat. All right. Hag Chamatzot is this interesting point. Hag Chamatzot is the application of Pesach. Okay? It's the application. So Pesach is all about getting the bread so you can actually do unleavened bread. So if this is crucial to our happily ever after, then how do we do that? This is the most important thing we're going to talk about today. This is one reason I have Isaac here to help me. How do we eat of Yahshua? This is huge. This is unbelievably huge. Okay, so this is where I started doing this menu. So I knew this was important, but how do you teach your children how to eat of Yahshua? How do we eat of Yahshua?
So here's the idea.
Yeah.
Is we eat with our mouths.
Yes.
Am I running ahead?
No.
But we also eat with our eyes and with our ears.
Yep, with our senses. So the idea is we intake.
And we are what we eat.
Right.
What comes in in our senses transforms us.
Right. The more you eat of, did you know that GMO food actually changes your DNA? It actually messes with your DNA. So the more you eat that nonsense, the more you're going to become like that, right? Your body's going to be filthy, it's going to be polluted, it's going to be diseased. The more you intake movies that are, of a certain nature, you're going to become, those things are going to lodge in you. And so this is what Yehovah was talking about. Is Papa Yehovah has a cafe, and he wants you to eat from his cafe. And so in the cafe, there is the things that his son is. And so it's really fun. The girls love to eat from this. But, I'm going to show you how we do this in just a minute, because we're going to make number 2.
What this represents is our number 1 resource on how to eat of Yahshua, which is the scriptures.
Yep.
This is our number 1 way that we know, Yahshua.
Right.
But there are other resources that are great that we also, maybe you're going to get to those.
Like the book.
But this is how to engage with our number 1.
Right.
Resource.
Your number 1 resource on eating of Yahshua is the scriptures, hands down. But I think there's, like Isaac's saying, there's people that know Yahshua very well and have a lot to say, and I think we can eat like that too from them. But there's a letter here, a welcome letter to the cafe from Yehovah, which is awesome. And then there's a dinner, there's salads, there's desserts and breakfast and stuff. I'm going to show you how to do this. We went through the first 5 chapters of his first few events of his life, and looked at how he lived and what he did. And then we came up with, he was memorized. He memorized. He knew his father's words. So we have the massively memorized muffin that the girls can order. Yahshua memorized my words. He knew my Torah, and he quoted it to the devil when he was cornered by the religious authorities. He knew right where to find my words to quote. So this is the massively memorized muffin, the flippin' fearless pancakes, the incredible love above all waffle, the prophetic insight cereal, this sort of thing. This is literally the first just few events of his life. We came up with so many wonderful things. So the idea is that we get to glean this week in the evening. What we're going to do together is we're going to start together in the evening. We're going to get the family together, and we're going to begin to look at the rest or another story, another the next story. I'm like all of a sudden getting a little bit of a headache here, so I'm trying to think. So let's go like we did last night.
So we went through Rebekah did a lot of work looking through the scriptures to find the characteristics, the personality, the character traits of Yahshua, in mainly looking at his actions.
Right.
Like, what did he do?
Right.
You know?
That's what we're looking at. And so you're not necessarily looking for the way you eat of Yahshua is you're going to eat what he says, yes, but what you're really going to do is you're going to eat from how he operates. What is he choosing to do in those situations? How is he moving about? What is his focus? Where is his thoughts and stuff like that? And how is he operating? So his personalities, characteristics. That's what we're looking for. So let's take off. Get your scriptures there. I think we're at Matthew 4:12. So literally, all of this is taken from up until Matthew 4, Luke 4, basically the first 4 or 5 chapters of the Gospels right there. And so what we're going to do this week is we're going to come up with menu number 2, and we're going to start basically in where we left off. So let's just find this real quick. So we're in Matthew. What story was it we were reading? I need my. Oh wait, here we go. So we're gonna do the same one that we did the other night because I have our notes right here.
Okay.
Okay. So this is how we're going to do it this week. The very next story that we're going to look at in his chronological, the chronological looking at his life, was when Yohanan got sent to prison, right?
Right. So Yahshua came down the river, was mikved.
Right.
He was recognized by Yohanan and by his father, kind of confirmed, and then immediately led to the wilderness for the temptation where he was tested.
Matthew 4:12. What does it say?
Now, when he heard that Yohanan had been arrested, he withdrew into Galilee.
Right. So, and then Mark 1:14 says, now Yohanan was put in prison. Yahshua came into the Galilee preaching the gospel of the kingdom of Yahweh. And Luke 4:14 says, Yahshua returned in the power of the Ruach into the Galilee. His fame spread throughout the region around about, and he was greatly praised as he taught in their synagogues. So we looked at this the other night, and we were like, whoa, here is his cousin being sent into prison. And so you've got Yohanan here, and they've taken away here, and Yahshua here, and Yahshua doesn't go towards Yohanan, he goes away. Right. And we're like, what? What kind of good friend would do that? And so we really sat with that and thought about why he did that.
Yahshua didn't set himself on, to go to presumably Jerusalem to how to rescue his kinsman, his cousin. Right.
So then there were several things we came, and this took we sat and talked about this for probably a good hour.
He heads up to the Galilee and begins his teaching.
Right. So we came up with, we were mining this and trying to figure out, to eat of Yahshua. So we're like, oh wow, okay, so he goes away, not towards Yohanan. Why? And so we're eating of Yahshua right now. And so we learn he embraces his destiny or his calling and allows another to play their role. I think
so Yohanan was going ahead, preparing the way for Yahshua.
Right.
Yahshua has just entered into his ministry.
Right.
And in a way, John's mission is over.
It's over, yeah.
He's completed his mission.
Right.
And
Yahshua knows that. And
so Yahshua takes the path that's been prepared for him and steps into his calling, his mission. Right.
So he takes the stage on cue. We were thinking about actors and stuff taking stage. So he takes the stage on cue as another one exits, as another actor exits. He allows the other one to exit the stage, and I think that's huge. He allows the exit of the other to be what it would be, the way it would be. I mean, John's exit wasn't exactly a good one.
I know. He worked so hard and
I know.
lived so hard in the wilderness, and then so rough, and then
Yeah,
he doesn't like retire to Palm Beach.
yeah. No, all
He
his
gets
work.
sent to prison,
And then,
where he will never leave.
yeah, and Yahshua doesn't get sidetracked by that.
It's a wild story.
It is. He sees the other's role for what it was. So he didn't lose sight of, we wrote down, he didn't lose sight of his mission by going to fight another's battle. Yohanan's time had ended, so he could start his time, and he knew that, and he was okay with that. I know he was like, when you read further in the story and you see where Yohanan was beheaded and you see what Yahshua did, Yahshua retreated to be alone, to cry, to talk to Papa, I'm sure, but then but it wasn't too soon. The crowds found him that day, and he ended up walking in his calling again that very day. He didn't get long to grieve. But there's this kind of like this all, I feel like there's, in the world right now, there's these activist movement. There is. You can be an activist for all kinds of things.
In any part of the world.
Yep. You can join anybody's calling, we were talking about that the other night.
Yeah, could go down today and start saving whales in Japan, or fight trafficking in Thailand, or... Yeah.
So here you've got these people fighting a certain fight here, and you perhaps have been called to do something else, but that path is going to be kind of rough or hard, and so instead what we do is we go here and join them and fight this when Papa's calling you to do something else, which we already know what Papa's called us all to do. We are called to seek first His kingdom. There's already a formula in there. Seek first His kingdom, His righteousness, and all these things will be given to you, blah, blah, blah. But, I just feel like there's this huge worldwide global movement to fight all these different with these different activists all over the place, and you're missing the whole point of your own calling.
Save the lower Slavonian fruit fly. I don't know. Take your pick. There's so many.
There's so many.
And many of them are good.
Yeah, they're good. But
I'm not trying to make fun. They're good, noble causes.
Right.
They really are.
Right.
So
But they're not the calling on my life.
Right. But
and I have to...
It's that bigger picture. Yahshua knew his mission. It's like, man, sometimes you have to let, another fruit fly die. Yeah. Knowing that that's not your mission, that's not your calling.
Well, just like you said, fruit fly, I was thinking about the bees, the fact that the bees are, and all this stuff. And, in the end, I could leave what I'm doing and I could go fight numerous battles. GMO organic, that gets me on.
Yeah, that
gets me fired up.
Right
Down syndrome, that I have a lot to say about that. There's different things that I could join and really fight for, and probably in some level make a lot of money on different things. But I am very, very clear on my calling, and I would be going against what I was called to do, to go fight those battles, and I know I can let it go because I know who the King is, and I know who's going to come back and bring it all under His feet. So yeah, the world's in a terrible place right now, but if I'm going to go fight for the bees, that is going to be a waste of my time. I need to go fight for the same thing that Yahshua is fighting for, the same thing that Yehovah is fighting for, which is to get people off the Titanic, because in the end, He's going to come back and He will put His enemies under His feet. The bees will have their, the bees will be back and flourishing, Down syndrome, the diseases will be all gone, this sort of thing. So I've got to be really clear on what battle I'm fighting. I think we all, as Israelites, need to be really clear on what battle we're fighting and where we're choosing to put our energy. And I see what Yahshua did here. And wow, this is how so Isaac and I just gave you an example of how we eat of Yahshua. So guess what we named this? This is going to go into our number 2 menu. And we're going to name it Right on Cue Popcorn. So in our menu, it's going to be popcorn, but it's going to be right on cue. Because entered the stage right on cue.
Yep.
Popcorn, and then there'll be a little description in it as far as it starts to remember. All right. So, how do we eat of Yahshua? How do we eat of Yahshua? Find my page there, page 30. Okay, like we were talking about the senses. Okay, you can behold him. You can think of him. You can obey him. You look at him. You can sit with him. You dance with him. You love him. You can follow him. You can converse with him. Copy him. Talk to him. Talk about him. Worship him. And the most powerful thing Isaac has said in the past is, ask the question, what would he do in this situation? That is probably the number one thing that you could probably do to learn to eat of him and to begin to eat of him is, what would he do? And you got to know what he would do by reading in here. You got to know, you got to be eating of how he actually lived here. How did he do life here? And then say, what would he do in this situation? And it will blow your mind, because he wasn't the meek and mild, subservient, he took out a whip sometimes.
He didn't just take out a whip.
No,
he took the time to find the stuff and make one.
Right.
So this was like premeditated, sustained, fight.
Yeah.
He made a whip.
Super fun.
And then,
right.
Right. But I love how John Elvis points out, he's going through he's tipping over the tables, he's yelling, get the things out of here. And he's just, I imagine that he's stampeding the cattle, and the money's flying everywhere, and but then he gets to the birds.
That's the birds.
And Eldridge points this out, and he doesn't tip over the tables, he doesn't throw he just says, and take these out of here.
Isn't that cool? Like, he hasn't the thought, he's able to in the moment be, righteous indignation, but then see those birds and think, if I throw them over, it's gonna hurt them.
Yeah. So he wasn't hurting the birds.
No, he's in that moment. He's able to use wisdom and think.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's just a lot when you start looking at it that way, and we do have to plug that book. We didn't bring.
I brought it. I think I had it last week with me, or the other week. It's called The Beautiful Outlaw by John Eldridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we eat of Yahshua, and frankly, you can't do it enough. You cannot do it enough, because it's just life. You just got. So the focus seems to be, like I said before, is on not eating leaven. When there are more scriptures about you must eat of the unleavened one. So, thank you. He doesn't like doing that. It makes him very nervous to be in front of the camera like that, but I need him today a lot. So I've just got a couple more slides here. One is I'm going to show you my show and tell today, which goes along with this in case you want to do it this week. We made Hag Hamatzot, little out of cardboard little what do you call them? Little books for our girls and us. So every night during Unleavened Bread over the course of the different years, we found, things that he was like. So he had fierce intentionality. And then we have the stories that tell about how he was, fiercely intentional. And then we put the date up here to see when it was. He was fully human and what that looked like, the stories and the characteristics of being fully human. He had extravagant generosity, and we draw pictures and stuff, and then I laminated them so we could have them over the course of the years. So this one is mine, and this one is Hadassah's, and this one is Maggie's. And I didn't bring Isaac's because he doesn't do anything fancy like that. It's kind of boring, actually. So anyway, that's a really great way to bring it home with the girls, with your family. All right, so just quickly, next week I just wanted to let you know that we're going to talk about the resurrection a little bit, and we're going to talk about the 144,000. Super important, I think. So that's what we're going to do next week. In fact, next week is the resurrection after we leave here. Oh, I don't know why I have that there. All right, and So we are done with our show today. So not only Shabbat Shalom, but also Chag Sameach. May Yehovah bless your Pesach tomorrow and bless your Feast of Unleavened Bread and your rehearsals that you're going to partake in this week. I really hope that you enjoyed our show and that you have gotten a little bit